Hey everyone, happy Friday! We're live! All right, we're so excited to be back as SHIP, and I'm joined today by Kristen, Stephanie, and Christine, and we're here to talk about owning and leveraging failure. So as we get started, I see there's some folks. Oh, thanks, Frank. Frank says ready to learn in the chat.
Yay.
Thank you, Frank, for being here. As we get started, as people roll in, it'd be great if you could tell us where you're actually listening in from. And if you just pop it in the chat, that'd be amazing because we'd love to know where you're calling in from. And I'm going to type where I am. I am in New York. Where are you all calling in from?
I'm from Toronto, Canada.
Woo.
All right. We're going to give people a couple seconds, just pop in the chat where you're coming in from. Because I see people joining actually as we're rolling.
Yay.
Yeah.
Also, I just want to let everyone know that if LinkedIn is being weird, you can find our live stream also at YouTube by going to youtube.com/@shippanel. That's 2 P's because it's 2 words.
I'm going to pop that in the links as well. Just so people have it here. I'll pop it in the chat as well, just in case. Cool. All right. Well, I think people are. Oh yeah, I agree. And if you're watching this and you want to watch the recording here, you can watch it on LinkedIn, or you can actually watch it on our YouTube channel. It's streaming to both. Yeah. Cool.
Woo.
All right. Should we get started with our first question? We made prompts for ourselves, and thanks to Kristen for coming up with these questions so we could kick off the conversation. So what is something that failure has taught you in your life as a professional woman? Would anyone like to kick it off and start? Stephanie.
I've been thinking about, and I decided not to call anything I do a failure. I decided to call everything that I do a stepping stone to my greatness and whatever I'm assigned to next. Like, I don't look at anything as a failure. I take the learning. So if it's something that I'm assigned, I call a job an assignment. I call me mentoring people an assignment, me mentoring a corporation an assignment. And whatever happens during that time, I'm gathering those learnings of, even this is about me, something that I've learned about myself, something I've learned about the organization, something the organization has taught me that I can leverage and put it more into my business. Pain points, I just look at it as a chapter and look at it as a stepping stone to help me become even more great than I already am.
I love that, Stephanie. I actually heard something the other day. I'm in a coaching program, and they said instead of like looking at your past like behind you and your future in front of you, you should stand on top of your past and look up to the future. Where it was like all the experience that you've had have got you where you are today, and you're standing on all of them. So they're like not regrets, they're experience.
Yeah. So I have a saying right here that says, "Don't look back. You're not going that way." It's not nothing right there. Nothing that can help you. That's going to help you, other than make you grow and be better than what you already is. But it's nothing to look back from. It's done. Can't get the time back.
I'm going to build on what you said, Stephanie, because I definitely in my own career felt the same way, that some things weren't necessarily a failure. I'm thinking about my switch from engineering into finance. I was just in the wrong career. So it wasn't actually like abject failure, but I felt like it was a failure in terms of being in the right place. And that I wasted this time, but I don't actually think I did. And so I prefer the way you're looking at it. And the other way that I've seen failure in my professional life as a founder is, we work with financial planning for women, and our original iteration was just taking the financial plan as it is and then applying it to middle income women. And the financial plan as it is made for wealthy men. And there were so many unintended consequences in that application of a tool that wasn't designed for the group we were applying it to, that it helped us accelerate in the right direction. It didn't feel great at the time. Like, it really felt miserable because it felt like we were failing the people we were working with, but it helped us redesign and figure out why it wasn't working and do something else. So I think failure is actually an accelerant.
Yeah, I would say that. Yeah. So I spent like a whole year talking about being a failure, and I got so much pushback because people are like, how dare you talk about yourself that way? You're not in the right frame of mind. But the reason why I did that is because I was talking to myself. I know myself. I'm a perfectionist. I'm an avoider, right? I'm a controller. There's so many saboteurs living in my head, which thankfully I'm learning to have power over, right, with my sage. But I made a list where I was like, these are the 10 big ways I'm willing to fail, because otherwise I could not get my brain on board. And like some of them are like insane things. Like I was like, I'm going to record an album this year. The album is still waiting until my guitar skills level up a little bit. I have all the lyrics, right? So I did that part. But I was like, yes, I am failing at this and I'm going to rejoice about it. So, however you need to frame it for yourself is not wrong, but you know yourself better than anyone else. So that's why people would be like, I'll fight you, Kristen. You shouldn't call yourself a failure. I'm like, for me, it's good because I'm acknowledging something that is my reality. And instead of saying, no, you can't do that, I'm embracing it and using it to move myself forward.
There are these things called, and I think it leads into our next prompt. They call them fuck up nights. So apologies for the profanity. It's literally called that. And they're found in entrepreneurial spaces. And I think they're not unique to Toronto. My understanding is that they're in a lot of places where there are entrepreneurs. So think of entrepreneurial hubs. And the idea is to normalize failure because, one, it helps you then see these people that are actually people that you look up to and think are amazing, and not think that they got there without failure along the way. It is this journey that has a lot of highs and lows, and so normalizing that, and also having this culture of almost celebrating failure because now you know what not to do. So you've actually figured out that that's not the right direction. And so I can't believe you picked consciously 10 places that you really wanted to fail. I love that idea. I might yank it for myself.
Yeah, do it. We'll all do it. We'll all have lists and we can share them.
Kristen, I like what you said as well. And you said that, you were engineering and you transitioned to finance. You realized, wait a minute, this isn't working for me. So it's like we create a lifestyle, what we think we should do. And then you realize when you get there, you're like, wait a minute, this is not fulfilling at all. So you have choices. And so you're going to make them fail. You're going to have stepping stones along the way until you figure out what exactly is your actual niche. Now, some people don't even do this exercise, but most people should. But like Frank said, fail fast, fail often, fix it, and learn from those moments. But is it really failing? Or are you just trying to figure it out? Yeah. Are you just trying to figure out what you're actually good at? What do you like?
Well, I want to add, like, similar to what Anne said and similar to what you said, Stephanie, about don't look backwards. They're not going in that direction. The engineering ended up being this foundation that I was able to leverage the skills that I had from. But at that moment, I really didn't understand that was going to happen. And it ended up being that I used it a lot in my financial career. And so, yeah, I love that.
All right, Anne, we haven't heard from you yet. What is something that failure has taught you in your life as a professional woman?
Oh, I've been happily listening to everybody's talk, so I'm good over here. When I was thinking about this question earlier, I think, and I've spoken about this on a LinkedIn Live before, but I'll share the story again just because I think it's a cool story. So before I'd started my business, I took every single business class that New York offered. And New York offers a lot of free business classes. And I was on this one call with a business coach, and I asked her, I was like, I'm kind of fearful of launching. I feel like I'm going to do it wrong. I don't really know what kind of services to provide for people. Like, I'm a little nervous about this. Like, how do I know what's right and what's not? And she looked dead in the camera and she was like, you're going to fail wrong. You're going to launch wrong, but I want you to do it anyway. Like, as in, it's inevitably going to happen. So why not embrace it, launch however you think is best, and then course correct. And so ever since then, I try to wake up every day and I think, what mistakes can I make today? Right? Because I feel like I learn more from my mistakes than I do the things I do right. The things I do right, I just keep doing. But also, like, to bring it back to the conversation, and Stephanie, you mentioned this too, like, a lot of people don't do that reflection. And like your failures or the things that bug you, or as our fellow innovation women member and burnout coach Kate Donovan always says, like, you got to use your resentment, like harness that, and that's going to tell you something. So what if we consider the places where we feel like we failed, or where we made a lot of mistakes, is like just like again parts of the experience and how we actually get better. Because I felt like, do you ever never feel like this? You know how you have FOMO? Yeah. People have like fear of missing out. I feel like I have FOMAM, which is fear of making a mistake. I made it up. Yeah, I was like, I suffer from FOMAM. But if you just realize that you're going to make a bunch of mistakes, but trust yourself enough to know that you can overcome them and you'll course correct and make it better, then that's like given me a really big sense of peace. I don't know if anyone else has felt that too.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. Orly Ziwi said, which by the way, she was a guest on my podcast this week. We need to reframe failure. Reminded of Thomas Edison, who said if he didn't fail, he found 10,000 ways that didn't work. Right?
Well, it's perspective. It's all perspective.
Yeah, amazing. All right, are we ready for question number 2?
Let's do it.
Okay. So what is the most powerful moment of learning through failure you've seen in someone else's life? Oh man, this is a deep one, I feel.
I'll go next because I can. Yeah.
We're all like politely waiting for each other. Like, oh God. Kristen or Christine?
Yeah, for me, it really was that those sort of like those normalizations of failure as being almost an arsenal for bravery, right? So, you know, if Anne, Kristen, and Stephanie are able to fail, move on, and be where they are today, and I admire them so much, then maybe it's okay that right at this moment I feel like I'm failing, but it's a part of the process and part of that building of that foundation. And that was, for me, that was really powerful. I actually really like FOMAM, Anne, because I think the perfection piece is really something that women struggle with. I think it happens for everybody, but I think we maybe struggle with a bit more. So 100% feel like the fear of making a mistake and the loss of time because of that fear is so detrimental, right? So we see this in finance all the time with women. You know, women are so scared of not getting to the right investments that they don't get into investments at all. And really, you could be in sort of even like mediocre investments, and as long as you're in them and you just stay in them, you'll do better than most people. And women are incredible investors, partially because they don't fiddle-faddle so much with their money that they just set it and forget it. The best investors out there are all dead because they don't touch their money. So it is better to be, I know that sounds morbid, but it is better to be invested and be invested slightly wrong and to fix it from there. But we see women that like it takes them months to open the account. And I want to normalize this because it's also true. And then it takes them months to put money into that account. And then it takes them months to pick where they're going to put the money. And like, it could be weeks, months, years, right? But that delay and that, you know, that failure to get started really does have a monumental impact on the wealth you have at the end. So, you know, normalizing that it's okay to make a mistake and pivot from there. And that's actually preferable than not starting at all is so important across everything that I work in. So
that's a great message, because not doing anything is still making a choice.
Right.
Mm-hmm. You're still making a decision.
Consequences.
Yeah. Yeah. And I like you just said, it's better to make a decision than to make no decision. Even if that decision is the wrong decision, you will course correct.
Yeah. And sometimes I feel like the right decision is to hire someone who's going to make you do it. Like not make you, but like I just hired someone to finally get my EIN and register my LLC because I was like, this is overwhelming for me and I'm putting it off, and that is making a choice. So let me get the help I need. And like, she already did it like this morning. It took her like 15 minutes. It would have taken me hours and like so much stress. And being able to like equip myself by hiring someone else was so useful.
Yeah.
And I'm the opposite. The first thing I did is when I come up with the concept is I'll do my EIN all LLC first, and I'll think about everything else later. Because I'm just all about business processes, order, so, but just to kind of add to the discussion, I can just share real quick because I'm actually coming out with a book. And one thing that I learned early in my career, I did 15 years. I know I did 15 years in the financial industry. So early 20s, out of college, looking for, in work. And I watched and studied so many leaders over the years. Like, I'm like, okay, if I'm a leader, I definitely don't want to do that. Nope. And I was searching for the right leader to find to mentor me. And but I saw so many mistakes happening. I'm like, that's not the leader I want to be. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to be what I need. I'm going to be the leader that I need. I'm going to be that person. So that is that was the powerful moment. That was my aha moment. I'm going to be the leader that I need. I need someone that has influence, that has a good personal career and professional career, like knows how to balance, know how to say no, know how to create boundaries. I have yet to see it. So what happened? I took my 15 years in the industry, I did a pivot. I did a career pivot just like you did, Christine. I went from that studying leaders in the industry. It still worked for me because I can now help organizations and create the leader that I would have needed. Now I get to do it for corporations and being those executive coaches. Yeah. And I think that was solidified me as I was like, that I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. Is I had a client and she said, you literally took my whole organization apart in a matter of 3 days. And I've been trying this for years to figure out what is the blockage. And I had all the leaders in the room and they all had an aha moment and said, oh my God, we're the problem. Oh my God, we're the problem. But I'm teaching you to be the leader that you would have wanted. So that if you're not even the leader that you would have wanted, what do you think is happening in your organization? So that was the powerful aha moment that I have. Like, I'm looking for this perfect leader. There is none.
That's amazing how you took your experience with the unintended consequences of what they were doing and were able to reframe that in a positive way to teach them different skills and different solutions. I think that's incredible and very needed.
Yeah. Thank you.
Definitely. Yeah. I just want to say, I already know what Stephanie's book is named. I know what's going to be in it. And I cannot wait. We talked about it yesterday because I was like, you're writing a book without talking to me? You're hurting my feelings right now. It's going to be amazing. I can't wait to read it. Like, in my mind this morning, Stephanie, I was imagining reading it. I am not kidding you.
I love it. I'm excited. I'm overly excited. But I want to help people become the best side of them as leaders, but you gotta be you can't fix what you're not willing to face. And most leaders are not willing to face the truth about themselves or their organizations. And so I want to be able to help you find the failures and use that to turn it and pivot it around so it can work for your good.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, can I jump in? I have a story. Yeah. You all know I bring the stories. So I was working with this amazing woman food scientist. And if she sees this, she's going to be embarrassed because she doesn't like when I do this. But she realized that her brand that she built was all around like appealing to a male-dominated industry and that she needed to completely pivot. And so she found me, wow. She tracked me down on Upwork back in the day, right? When I was still working on there. And she was like, I want to redo my messaging and so that it's more feminine like me. And I was like, okay, cool. But while we were doing it, I realized she hates half of the stuff that she's offering because it doesn't fit her personality. And I was like, how are these parts of your business going? And she's all, oh, they're the worst. They never work. And I was like, they don't match your personality. They don't match your messaging. They match what you thought the industry was demanding that you do. Mm-hmm. Why don't we cut all of those and focus on the things that you actually love doing? And it was so it equipped her in such a different way that actually she came back to me 3 months later when we were getting ready to do the next phase. And she's like, I cut half again. of the services, and I'm only focusing on these 3 things, and they lead into this one thing that I've been dreaming of doing forever. And so watching her realize her failure was really linked to the expectation she thought the industry had for her, and to like seeing the transformation to actually most of the people who owns these type of businesses that she's targeting are women, and seeing that like grow and explode has been so amazing. And I'm just so proud of her, and working with her was a huge privilege.
That's awesome.
That's an amazing story, because what you're saying is like almost like that concept of like kill your darlings. Like, don't be afraid to pivot and cut things. And that's so important to consider, where you're constantly reevaluating what you're offering and where your business is going. And if something's not working, it's not like you don't always have to, like, failure is not a bad thing. Failure just means you figured out what not to do. And Stephanie, I was thinking of this story as you were talking about be the leader you want to see. Do you know what I mean? Like, be the person you want from someone else. I was like, that's so powerful. And I have a funny story. I'm not even gonna look at the camera. I'm gonna look at the screen. So because when I tell this story, I want to see your reactions. So I once had a friend try to convince me to go raw vegan while he was sitting in front of me eating a plate of barbecue chicken. This is a true story. Do you think that I was convinced to go raw vegan? And I was like, hey man, you're trying to tell me to go raw vegan while sitting in front of me eating a plate of cooked chicken. I don't see how this is going to work out. And he was like, listen to what I say and not what I do. And I was like, that's bad parenting advice. That's bad advice overall. You know, like, it's not going to happen. But that concept makes more sense, where it's like, if whatever we want to see, we need to embody and face ourselves and become that. Otherwise, it's like very unfair for us to expect that of other people.
Right. It's a crazy thing, because I have my live coaching with Stephanie J on a hiatus right now because I'm rebranding and everything. But
that's her radio show, everyone. She has like a real live radio show. Just let me add that in there.
So I think I'm going to return in August. But the hardest thing for me to do is to get people on the show, because live coaching with Stephanie J, it talks about your brand and it talks about you. But what I was learning is most people want to talk about their brand. They don't want to talk about themselves. It was so hard pulling teeth to get people to talk about their failures, but people don't understand that your failures is what humanizes you.
Yeah.
It helps people to see that you're a human being with feelings, with obstacles, and people it makes you look more relatable. When you're always striving for perfection and want to look perfection, you're exhausting yourself and the people around you. You don't look ideal. You look like a trophy, and nobody wants that anymore.
No one wants to learn from, if they're failing right now. This is something I do with my clients too. We do their failure story. It's huge and powerful. If someone is out there failing right now, who do they want help from? Someone who's perfect, or someone who has failed just like them and figured it out?
Exactly.
Not only that, but I think when you're talking about your failures, it's also an opportunity to talk about your learning process, right? Or like how you pick yourself up. I know I know you're talking about the professional world, but or we're talking about the professional world, but I used to be a high level athlete, and it was figure skating, and the number of times you have to fall down before you can land an element or stand up on an element is almost, you have to be a little nutters to do it. But the most powerful thing, or I think the people that were very successful kept coming with an idea of what they could try differently, right? Because if you're going to do the same thing and fall, well, you're pretty guaranteed, you're pretty guaranteed of the same outcome. But if you can think of something you want to change, and then it's the people who figure out what works for them the best, the fastest, that end up, some people did it even better than I did. But it gives you that opportunity to go through the process, which is, I think, more important than lucking out on an outcome. I really like Stephanie.
That's amazing.
What I was gonna say is going to go into that last frame of question. Yeah, that one. Because I have my own story, and it speaks to what Christine was saying. It's not just professional; it's personal. Because I always say, if I'm going to coach you from an executive coaching perspective, I can't coach you professionally if I can't coach you personally, because something is bleeding into the next that's making you look so unbalanced. So I'm a Libra. Sorry, it's just that's what we do. Everything has to be balanced. But just share my personal story and how I owned it. Is I went through a divorce. And 11-year marriage, so I have experience there. Got married young. However, I took the learnings from that, and I realized what I went through. I went to a very traumatic divorce, not divorce, but marriage. But I took the lessons in that, and I created a life after divorce program. And I've been able to help so many people get through specifically what I've gone through divorce. So it's like I took it. I took the learning. I made a 12-week course out of it. Wasn't trying to do that. It just exuded out of me because it's like I have so many lessons. Oh my God! And how my recovery was so great. So I ended up becoming a 90-day life after divorce recovery program because most people don't know how to recover properly, and they get back into this dating pool, and it's toxic because you're bringing so much baggage. So I help people by my personal testimony, and some people miss that because they think your testimony is just a failure, and you tuck it away and compartmentalize it, but you don't realize you're losing your place in this world, being interconnected with human beings who need help and need your personal story.
Yeah, that's amazing. Oh, that's so good. So, okay, Anne, you're hosting, but you've been really quiet and such a good listener. So why don't you answer this question now? How do you frame failure for yourself, and how do you own it?
I will gladly answer the question, but first I want to pitch a new brand idea to Stephanie. What if you talked about failures as failures? What?
That also fits with ship, by the way.
I will do that as soon as you can create me a logo and all that. She's awesome with all the lingo. She's amazing with that. I'm gonna get on your books.
Okay, it'll be like a woman fishing with and all of her failures are on the end of the line, and she's pulling up clients or pulling up people that she wants. I feel like that might work.
Really good. And you know what? I'm texting right now.
Okay. Well, because I think it's and I've had a coach, she's like, Anne, you need to talk about how you failed more often. People also respond to that because then you can develop relationships, and being vulnerable is actually a really important, part of business as well. And it's you need to share things about yourself, right? Because we're all looking for people that we resonate with. But people always say people like, and trust. And how do you know, like, and trust somebody? You have to find out about them, and get their personality. You don't have to share everything, but you need to share part of yourself. And I think that's really can be tough, even for me. Sometimes I just don't want to talk about things, but it's always better when I do versus when I don't. Yeah. And I went off book.
You feel better knowing that you help somebody based on your personal testimony. Oh my God, what I went through helping you, you have no idea. It's so powerful. Because remember, you made it to tell the story. Somebody didn't.
And I just want to say, all four of us right now in this room have done a huge career pivot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we admitted this thing that I'm doing is not working. And while that might be considered a devastating failure, whatever you want to call it, we were all okay, this is the new chapter that I'm writing in the book of my life. And it starts with an important lesson that I just learned. Mm-hmm. So if you're out there and you're wondering, how can I build the life that I actually am excited to get out of bed in the morning and race to my job or race to be with my kids or my significant other, whatever? It's about asking yourself some hard questions and being willing to give those honest answers that point to where your path is leading.
I will never forget my last day of work. My last day of work will be a year tomorrow. I'm celebrating my 1-year entrepreneur anniversary. Oh my gosh. And they was like, what's next? I said, you'll see. Because I couldn't put a face to what I was seeing. I couldn't put it into words. I just knew I was being called to something different. So I said, well, you'll see. You'll just see. I'll just continue to follow me on social media.
I think that's a good place to end this LinkedIn Live, because you always leave them wanting more.
That's right.
So everyone, what are we going to do next? You'll see.
You see?
That's right.
Failure, learning, and growing.
Definitely. All right. Thanks, friends. I'm going to go out because I got the button. Thank you, Anne, for hosting. Thanks, all of you, for being here. If you're watching the replay, let us know. Comment #replay so we can see that that's what you're doing, because it matters to us and your story matters to us. And we will see you next Friday for another episode in the ownership series. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.